You may begin your presentation.
What does it mean to be Australian? That's the beauty of being Australian. There is no one sentence that defines us all. In fact, it is our unique differences that unite us as one of the most multicultural countries in the world. And that's something to be proud of. Still, there are challenges associated with catering to such a diverse group. Challenges in the realms of cultural pride, literacy and education. Challenges which our projects seek to address for all Australians. I'd like to introduce you to our two social enterprises, Best Foot Forward and the Unknown Project. Best Foot Forward uses wearable Indigenous art to bridge the Indigenous literacy gap, and the Unknown Project seeks to dramatically alter the stereotypes of those from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds. I'd first like to introduce you to Jackie and Best Foot Forward. Best Foot Forward uses authentic Indigenous designs telling stories of the dream times that all Australians can share in our unique and rich history.
I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And it is these emerging and future leaders that will continue to pave the way. But imagine an Australia without the recognition of their incredible accomplishments. Well, when we look at the facts, we have up to 85% of Indigenous products on the market appropriated and exploited. Or imagine an Australia where only 34% of its students met the minimum national reading standard. Well, only 34% of Year 5 Indigenous students in remote communities are meeting the national standard, compared to 95% of non-Indigenous students in cities. Literacy unlocks a world of opportunity and forms a cornerstone of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal for education. Yet Indigenous Australians are being left behind. At Enactus QUT, we saw this problem and turned it into an opportunity with Best Foot Forward. Best Foot Forward ignites pride in Indigenous art, culture and history through wearable art featuring authentic Indigenous designs. We can create a talking point like this, where all Australians can share stories from the dream time. And these designs are thoughtfully crafted by local Indigenous artists who receive commission for their work. With 50% of our profit then going towards the Indigenous Literacy Foundation. We sell these through our e-commerce platforms and in retail storefronts. And it was partnerships with these artists and organisations that challenged us to address the core issues. Lost languages, appropriation causing foregone income, and the unsung stories of our First Nations people. Our founding artist, Maurice Woodley, highlights the importance of acknowledging that all Australians are part of a 60,000-year history, not a 230-year one. He notes that Indigenous Australians have the longest living ongoing culture in the world. Something as important as that needs to be marketed, branded, owned, and talked about by all Australians. And that's exactly what we're doing. And when you look at Best Foot Forward's impact, the sale of accessories is only the beginning. We have maintained environmental sustainability through environmentally certified materials and manufacturing practices. We have provided literacy development opportunities via our donation to the Indigenous Literacy Foundation. And we've created a unique means of sparking that conversation around Indigenous art, culture and history. And in the process, supported local artists and local businesses with Australian-made and owned manufacturing. And we've done all this in big ways. As we've grown over the years, we wanted to ensure that our positive impact was both socially and environmentally responsible. We are now proud to announce that all future purchases from our stock line are made from bamboo materials, and all products are free from plastic packaging. And this financial year, we have donated over $3,190. That means over 319 more books have been delivered to remote communities to help young Indigenous Australians take on the literacy odds stacked against them. And by creating an additional sales channel for our artists, we have generated this financial year over $5,640. We've successfully transitioned from a single purchase business model into one of large bulk orders for corporate and event gifting. This has allowed us as a brand to diversify and tap into a really profitable consumer base. But what sets us apart is our story, designed by Indigenous Australians and supporting Indigenous Australians. Where other organisations seek overseas manufacturing or appropriated designs, each product you receive shares a story. We're igniting pride in Indigenous art, culture and history, enabling Indigenous Australians to put their best foot forward. Now that's something we're really proud about. If you'd like to learn more or even purchase one of our products and help share this story, please head to bffclothing.org. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce you to Chris and the Unknown Project. The Unknown Project seeks to connect those from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds with the resources that they need to not just survive but thrive. They take donations of quality, second-hand books, wrap them in brown paper and write 3 clues on the front as to the author, similar themes or genre. These books then serve to generate awareness and discussion around the rhetoric of asylum seeker peoples.
Picture this. After years of hardship, your family finally arrives in Australia, and the promise of education is life-changing. However, you quickly face language barriers, experience confusion surrounding your new schooling system, and realise that you don't have the resources and technology that you will need to engage in class. This is not the Australian dream that you imagined, but this is a reality faced by thousands of young people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds in the Australian schooling system. In partnership with refugee support agencies throughout Queensland, it was established that these young people face significant informal barriers to the Australian education system. It was identified that 25% of refugees who arrive in their host country after the age of 15 will not complete mandatory schooling, compared to only 10% for native students. This is alarming, not only because completing mandatory schooling has been proven to lead to better social and economic outcomes, but because it is a school that provides the access to opportunity and community that comes with citizenship and belonging. At Enactus QUT, we saw this problem and turned it into an opportunity with the Unknown Project, a blind date with the book supporting access to education for young people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds in Australia. We take quality, second-hand book donations, wrap them in brown paper, and write 3 clues on the front as to its themes, similar authors, or genre. Think, don't judge a book by its cover. From there, we sell them for $5 at events such as markets, conferences, weddings, and even yoga retreats. We also currently have them stocked at small businesses throughout Brisbane. In partnership with refugee support agencies throughout Queensland, we then use these funds to provide vital educational resources for young people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds. This assists our community in accomplishing the sustainable development goal of quality education for all children. On the surface, the Unknown Project is about reducing barriers to education by providing financial support to those who need it most. But if you look deeper, the underlying message of don't judge a book by its cover is about promoting inclusion and connection within our communities. Each book is a metaphor for the treatment of asylum seekers worldwide and represents the quiet power, the quiet potential of the young people we seek to empower. Every person who buys a book and every volunteer we engage is exposed to this message. And we aim to generate awareness throughout the entire process, from receiving the donations all the way until the resources land in the hands of those who need them. By sourcing the books through donations, we're also giving life back to thousands of second-hand books and saving the environment in the process. Every day, almost 2.5 million trees are cut down to be used for paper products such as books. By reusing the 2,100 books which have been donated to us, we're promoting a circular economy by reducing waste, maximising the use of resources, and improving livelihoods in an environmentally sustainable way. To date, we've had almost 300 volunteers become part of the Unknown Project story by donating over 800 hours of their time to assisting us in hand wrapping these books. And since this time last year, we've taken major steps of scaling our project through our chapter licensee model. By harnessing the collaborative nature of the project and equipping other passionate groups with the fundamentals of the Unknown project, we've been able to overcome key growth limitations while expanding our reach. The feasibility of this model is demonstrated by the success of our first offshoot chapter at Griffith University on the Gold Coast. Since our initial collaboration at Nationals this time last year, they've become a self-sufficient chapter of the Unknown project and have generated almost $1,500 in revenue. This contributes a significant portion of the total $5,595 raised by the Unknown project over the last financial year. Over the last 12 months, almost $3,000 worth of resources have gone directly to refugee families in the form of uniforms, school fee payments, and other essential school supplies. Thanks to the Romero Centre and Multicultural Families Organisation, it is estimated that approximately 60 young people and their families have been directly impacted by these resources, with many more to be assisted in the coming months with the remaining funds. Over the last year, we've strategically set ourselves up to best utilise growth opportunities and prepare for expansion. This has involved generating awareness by engaging local media and politicians, working with a team of student consultants to develop strategy, and educating students through workshops that seek to positively impact perceptions surrounding refugees. However, the most important step that we've taken in scaling our impact for the future has been the success of our chapter licensee model. The accomplishments of the Griffith Pilot chapter over the last 12 months have demonstrated what can arise from a simple conversation. We've already had further domestic and international interest, so imagine what would be possible if collaboration was actually facilitated. Ultimately, the Unknown project is not just about changing individual lives. It's about changing the discourse around asylum seekers through education and empowerment. The beauty of the Unknown project is that it can be done anywhere by anyone. If you've got books and paper, you've got the Unknown project. And thanks to this, we're able to empower anyone who wants to make a difference while creating tangible benefits for those who need it most. So I invite you now to join us as we write the Unknown project story. To help write a page, or even a chapter of your own, please get in touch and visit theunknownproject.org.
We at Enactus QUT now invite you to join us on a journey that empowers all Australians, from those who've just arrived to those who've been here for tens of thousands of years. Thank you.
We will now begin with the question and answer period. Only judges may ask questions, and there are 2 microphones. If the judges would like to show their hands, the microphones will come to you.
Hi, thanks for that. My question is around, I guess, going forward, probably on both projects, what the expectations might be in terms of scaling and, I don't know, future funds raised.
Mind if I take this one? Yeah. So a big part of the future of the Unknown project is the chapter licensee model that we discussed. And as currently we have 1 chapter, and in the future, over the next 12 months, we're hoping for approximately 10 chapters. So if that means each of those chapters can raise the same $1,500, that could be an additional $15,000 in revenue for the Unknown project and ultimately for the beneficiaries of it.
And for Best Foot Forward, this year's been a huge year of strategising and preparing for the future. We've made changes to our supply chain to be able to meet when we do emailing campaigns. So based on our preparation and current growth, we're aiming for $15,000 next financial year, which we believe is really achievable.
Thank you. A question about Best Foot.
Yep.
50% of sales donated. Can you talk us through the other 50%? What, if that's budget, can you just highlight the main items?
So 50% of our profit goes towards ILF. That leaves 50%. Now, we have a minimum standard for our artists. So for our socks, for example, they must receive $2.50 per purchase. Depending on the exposure of the artist, that could also go into the remaining $5. All the remainder goes into investing into more stocks, engaging with more artists, and also the process of, for the scarves, for example, we have to pay a sewer and a cutter. So it goes into just the everyday costs of the running.
Who owns the intellectual property in the Best Foot Forward project?
Definitely our artists. We are trying to empower them and try to tackle the really big issue of stolen designs. So definitely our artists, we're there to empower them, they're not our own.
For the Best Foot Forward project, I think you mentioned that you're looking to go into the corporate merchandising sector.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you're thinking about the value proposition for that particular segment is.
Why? So corporate's great in terms of there's such a market for people who want scarves, pocket squares, socks. But we also see the value in the potential reach. We have, with event gifting, we've been lucky enough to provide to events such as the QUT Business Leaders Forum. So that means on a stage where many people are watching, we were able to present to the Honourable Julie Bishop. And by targeting those key people, we're able to reach a much broader audience.
Hi there. For the Unknown project, really curious just to understand how you've gone about understanding the problems and real challenges of refugees.
Yeah, so at the very early stages, we worked with MDA, which is the Multicultural Development Australia organisation, and we discussed with them some of the issues faced by the refugee people that they directly deal with. And it was found that there was this issue of a lack of access to education that I personally wasn't aware of it until I got involved with Enactus, but it was learned that this was an issue which was huge but wasn't being tackled by anything. And so that's where we found that need and sought to address it.
In relation to the Best Foot Forward project, how have you engaged your audience with that initial needs analysis and establishing what the needs were?
Is that in terms of our customers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So initially it was done by word of mouth, and then this year we've now also began a more focus on our marketing campaigns. So targeting the corporate by marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, and just trying to reach that corporate audience through those kind of channels.
Just to clarify, was that the question, or were you looking more for like the needs analysis?
Oh,
yeah, the needs analysis.
Oh, the needs analysis of our customers. Initially, corporate, we were trying to capitalise on a really popular trend there. Funky socks. Fun Sock Friday, I think, is becoming quite a popular trend. But where also we see is there's great growth there for things to also incorporate Indigenous art, such as notepads, stationery.
Your time has expired. Judges, please join me in thanking Queensland University of Technology for a great presentation.